A 55-year-old man is behind bars for viciously beating his parents. On Tuesday the 5th of November, a Good Samaritan called 911 to report an assault in progress at a property along the 25,000 block of Children's Street in Elkmont, Alabama. When officers arrived at the scene, they found an elderly man and woman severely beaten and bleeding. During the investigation, authorities identified the couple's son, 55-year-old Charlie Ray Cain Jr. as a suspect. He fled from the scene before law enforcement arrived. Officials began searching for Charlie and located him in the woods along Richard Martin walking trail about a mile from the scene. He was arrested and charged with elder abuse, domestic violence, violation of domestic violence protection order, attempting to elude law enforcement, public intoxication and resisting arrest. Charlie also has an outstanding warrant for DUI. He remains held at the Limestone County Jail without bond. Huntingburg police in Indiana have arrested 34-year-old Serafin Mendoza Lopez of Jasper, Indiana on child sex charges. According to police, detectives launched a child molesting investigation on the 21st of October from an incident that occurred back in the summer of 2020. The police department received a report from the Crisis Connection in Jasper that Serafin had inappropriately touched an 11-year-old girl that was living in Huntingburg. On the 31st of October, Serafin was questioned by police regarding the complaint. After further investigation and assistance from Indiana State Police, Serafin was placed under arrest for child molestation and sexual battery. He was transported and placed into the Du Bois County Security Center. He's out of jail on bond and is due in court in December. A 21-year-old woman is behind bars in connection to the death of a toddler daughter. At 12:47 p.m. on Thursday the 7th of November, authorities responded to the Memory Lane Trailer Park in Sturgis Township, Michigan, on reports of an unresponsive young girl inside a home. First responders tried to revive the toddler, but were unsuccessful and the child was pronounced dead at the scene. The girl was identified as 2-year-old Octavia Bohne. An investigation led officers to take the mother of the child, 21-year-old Paige Nichole Bohne, into custody for involuntary manslaughter due to the circumstances surrounding the child's death, though authorities have not yet disclosed these details. On Friday the 8th of November, Octavia's body was sent for an autopsy, and the St. Joseph County prosecutor upgraded the charge to open murder. Paige remains held at the St. Joseph County Jail without bond. A 49-year-old man is behind bars for killing his 50-year-old girlfriend and injuring her brother because he did not like her haircut. At around 1:40 p.m. on Sunday the 3rd of November, authorities responded to a residence along the 2900 block of Dell Lane in East Hempfield, Pennsylvania on reports of a stabbing. When police arrived, they found Benjamin Garcia Gual inside a car outside the home with a bloody kitchen knife in hand, and he was taken into custody. Inside the home, they found Benjamin's girlfriend Carmen Martinez-Silver dead at the scene, and her brother had stab wounds to his head, chest, abdomen and arm. He was rushed to the Lancaster General Hospital and is expected to survive. Carmen's daughter told police that her mother slept over at her house on the night of the 2nd of November because she was scared of Benjamin. The daughter cut Carmen's hair, and it upset Benjamin so much that he threatened to stab her. Carmen left her daughter's house and went to her brother's home on Dell Lane. Carmen asked someone to inform Benjamin that she wanted to end their relationship, but Benjamin was not home when the witness went by. Benjamin showed up at her brother's house looking for his girlfriend, but the person that answered the door claimed she wasn't there. He left and came back a few minutes later. Carmen's brother answered, and Benjamin stabbed him. Carmen started defending her brother, which led Benjamin to stab her multiple times. Benjamin was arrested and charged with criminal homicide, attempted criminal homicide, and multiple counts of aggravated assault and endangering another person. He remains held at the Lancaster County Jail with bail denied. 43-year-old Colleen Jo Matarico, a schoolteacher at John Burroughs Middle School in Los Angeles, California, has been arrested on child sex charges. Authorities said that Colleen groomed and sexually assaulted a 13-year-old child in a classroom before pursuing the minor to have sexual intercourse in a vehicle. On Thursday the 7th of November, Colleen was arrested and charged with 5 counts of lewd acts with a minor, 2 counts of lewd acts with a minor 14 or 15 years old, and 1 count of furnishing marijuana to a minor. Authorities said that they believe there are additional victims and further charges are possible. Colleen remains held on a $1,300,000 bail. A 46-year-old man is behind bars for killing his 34-year-old girlfriend in the shared home by hitting her over the head with a hammer. At 1:25 a.m. on Saturday the 2nd of November, authorities responded to an apartment in the 500 block of Gravel Pike in Perkiomen Township, Pennsylvania, after a 911 caller told dispatch that there was possibly a deceased female at that location. When officers arrived, they entered the residence and found Jessica Zipkin with a fatal wound to the back of her head, and a hammer was recovered next to her body. An autopsy determined that Jessica died of blunt force trauma to the head, and her death was ruled a homicide. Jessica's boyfriend, William Carey, was arrested a short time later and was charged with first-degree murder and possessing an instrument of crime. He remains held at the Montgomery County Correction Facility without bail. The motive of the killing is unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. A 31-year-old man is behind bars for fatally shooting his 25-year-old girlfriend during a domestic dispute. At just before 6 p.m. on Thursday the 7th of November, police responded to an apartment in the 5800 block of Notting Hill Drive in Chesterfield, Virginia on reports of a shooting. When officers arrived, they entered the premises and found an unresponsive woman with multiple gunshot wounds. Medics rendered aid before sending her to a hospital, where she was pronounced dead. The woman was identified as 25-year-old Dominique Fields. During the investigation, authorities identified Dominique's live-in boyfriend, 31-year-old Quadry Camppbell, as the suspect, and a warrant for his arrest was issued. The following day, Quadry was taken into custody and booked into the Chesterfield County Jail on second-degree murder and gun-related charges. A 43-year-old man is behind bars for killing his 64-year-old mother and setting her home ablaze. At just before 1 a.m. on Friday the 8th of November, firefighters responded to a house fire along Old Mill Springs Road in Monticello, Kentucky. During the course of battling the fire which caused the partial collapse of the house, fire crews found the body of 64-year-old Margaret Fulton inside. Authorities said that her son, 43-year-old Joseph Fulton, who lived with his mother, was missing from the scene, had reportedly made statements claiming he shot his mother and set the house on fire. Authorities did not say whom he made those statements to. Kentucky State Police then asked the public's help in finding Joseph and said that he is considered armed and dangerous and issued a warrant for his arrest. At just after 8:30 p.m, Kentucky State Police located Joseph and took him into custody. He was booked into the Wayne County Detention Center on charges of murder and arson. A Texas man found guilty of possessing child pornography has received what is believed to be the longest prison sentence in Panola County history. The Panola County Criminal District's Attorney's Office announced that on Monday the 4th of November, 38-year-old Christopher James Williamson of Carthage was sentenced to a cumulative prison term of 750 years. The Texas Department of Public Safety Criminal Investigations Division originally arrested Christopher on the 6th of February for possession of child porn. He was then indicted by Panola County Grand Jury for 10 charges of possession. The District Attorney's Office said that a Department of Public Safety agent testified that out of the dozens of cases that he has investigated, this was by far the worst case he has ever seen. A sexual assault nurse examiner from Mount Vernon acted as an expert witness and testified that all the children in the videos that Christopher possessed were prepubescent. After being found guilty of all 10 charges, a judge sentenced Christopher to 75 years behind bars on each charge. Instead of the sentences running concurrently, a motion was granted where the sentences will run one after the other, meaning Christopher has a 750-year sentence. A 49-year-old man is behind bars for fatally stabbing his 43-year-old wife in front of their 2 children at their family home. At 6:05 a.m. on Friday the 8th of November, authorities responded to a home at 12002 Climb Meadow Drive in the Climebrook neighborhood of Houston, Texas, following a call for a family disturbance. When deputies arrived, they found an unresponsive woman with multiple stab wounds, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. The woman was identified as 43-year-old Adele Wilson. 2 children, ages 11 and 8, and an adult woman thought to be the children's aunt reportedly witnessed the incident. The woman's husband, 49-year-old Charles Murray Wilson, had already fled the scene before deputies arrived. Investigators found Charles driving the victim's car about 7 miles away at the Shell gas station at 6225 Spring Cypress Road in Spring, Texas. He was arrested and booked into the Harris County Jail on a murder charge. Authorities said that there have been ongoing domestic calls to police from the home. The motive of the killing is unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. A couple from Mountain Home, Arkansas face 112 counts of false imprisonment involving a teenage boy. 41-year-old Jaclyn Barnett and 40-year-old Daniel Wright also face charges of endangering the welfare of a child and permitting abuse of a minor. Jaclyn is the mother, and Daniel is the stepfather. Investigators said that on Saturday, the 2nd of November, Mountain Home police responded to an apartment after people in the neighbouring unit heard cries for help. A 10-year-old and 11-year-old answered the door and said that their parents were not home and were working. When officers entered the premises, they found a 15-year-old boy naked and locked inside a bathroom where he slept on a wooden pallet. The boy told investigators that he was held in the bathroom with no lights and no food every night and was only let out to go to school. He said that he hadn't eaten and was hungry. Jaclyn remains held at the Baxter County Jail in lieu of a $50,000 bond, while Daniel's been released after posting a $50,000 bond. 49-year-old Clever, Missouri Police Chief Michael Evans has been charged with domestic assault. At around 10 p.m. on Thursday, the 7th of November, Greene County deputies responded to Michael's home in the 3700 block of West Wilderness Street in Clever, Missouri, in reports of a disturbance. Authorities said that Michael used physical violence against a woman at his residence, and the victim reportedly sustained bruising and swelling on her face. Michael left the scene in a police vehicle, disabling tracking features on both his work and personal devices. He was arrested later that night and booked into the Greene County Jail on a $10,000 bond. Clever is a tiny town of about 2,100 residents in southwest Missouri near Springfield. Michael was sworn in as Chief of Police on the 16th of July and has resigned from his position since his arrest. A father and his living girlfriend are behind bars for the beating death of a 4-year-old girl. At around 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 6th of November, authorities responded to a home in Leesville, Louisiana, where a young girl was severely injured and unresponsive. Medics transported the child to a local hospital for medical treatment. Doctors said that the child was brought in with bilateral brain bleed, a broken humerus and a left clavicle break. In addition, she had bruising over much of her body and burns to her face, chin and neck. Investigators said that 4-year-old Athena Miller and a 2-year-old brother both had injuries believed to be the result of physical abuse. Police initially arrested the father of the children, 24-year-old Logan Miller, and his girlfriend, 48-year-old Terrie Gray, on drug charges, and they were booked into the Vernon Parish Jail. The following morning, Athena died from her injuries. Authorities said that the cause of death was cardiopulmonary arrest, intracranial bilateral hemorrhaging, and non-accidental injuries from child abuse. Following her death, the couple were additionally charged with first-degree murder and 2 counts of cruelty to a child. Vernon Parish Sheriff John Kraft said it's a disturbing case, and certainly a horrible case of abuse to this child and quite possibly her younger sibling. Police are searching for the suspect responsible for the murder of a 31-year-old woman. At just before 4:30 a.m. on Friday, the 1st of November, police discovered a woman dead inside a car in the 300 block of North Blandford Drive in Vancouver, Washington. A small child was also in the car but was uninjured. The Clark County medical examiner said that 31-year-old Courtney Clinton died from incised wounds to her neck. Police said that they are treating the case as a homicide, but have not yet identified a suspect. Family members identified the child in the backseat of the car as Courtney's 1-year-old son and said that she has 2 other children, an 8-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. The investigation into the matter continues. A woman is behind bars for shooting her boyfriend. At around 7:15 a.m. on Friday, the 8th of November, authorities responded to a house along Alton Road in Drasco, Arkansas for a disturbance. When deputies arrived, they located a man with multiple gunshot wounds. Deputies rendered aid to the victim until medical personnel arrived on scene, and he was transported by helicopter to hospital for further medical treatment. Detectives arrived on scene and began to investigate the circumstances that led to the shooting. The man's living girlfriend, 37-year-old Rebecca Jane Mryglod, was identified as a suspect in the shooting. She was taken into custody and transported to the Gleburn County Jail. She is charged with attempted first-degree homicide, first-degree domestic battery, and simultaneous possession of drugs and firearms. Bail is yet to be set by a judge. The motive of the shooting is unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. 3 people have been arrested for placing a 6-year-old boy in the dryer at a laundromat and turning it on as punishment after the child lost a bag of chips and became upset. On Monday the 11th of November, authorities responded to the high-tech washateria at 13075 Kendall Road in Houston, Texas, after receiving a 911 call from bystanders about a young boy locked in the dryer. When deputies arrived, they found the boy visibly shaking and crying. Authorities determined that the child was in the care of 3 adults at the time. Deputies attempted to apprehend the 3 suspects, but one male, 20-year-old Jaqory Gill, fled on foot. While chasing after Jaqory, another suspect, 19-year-old Life Ford, stepped in front of the deputy and pushed him. Deputies arrested Life and a third suspect, 18-year-old Haven Duncan, who had a firearm in his possession. Officials located Jaqory and took him into custody. Authorities said that Haven put the child in the dryer because he was crying about losing his bag of chips. The boy was reportedly in fear and crying, asking Haven to stop. Haven said he put the child in the dryer but was joking and didn't think it was serious. The boy, however, told authorities that he was scared and not okay. The child's mother arrived at the scene and started screaming at the boy because he was being a baby while they were playing. Officials separated the mother and son while medics checked for injuries. The mother was not charged in the case. Authorities reviewed surveillance footage from the laundromat, which reportedly showed the child attempting to prevent himself from going into the dryer by using his feet to stop himself from going into it. Haven allegedly placed him in the dryer machine while using force to prevent him from coming out, including having Life shut the door and Haven holding it closed. Jaqory paid for the dryer using a debit or credit card and started it while the boy was in it. Authorities said that the boy was in the machine for about 5 minutes. They then brought the child out, sat him in a metal cart and spun him around in circles in a very aggressive manner. Haven reportedly stopped spinning the boy when the deputies arrived. Haven was charged with child endangerment, Jaqory with evading on foot, and Life with interfering with the duties of a public servant. Haven remains held at the Harris County Jail on a $75,000 bond, whereas Jaqory and Life were released on $100 bonds. A 32-year-old man is behind bars for fatally shooting his 33-year-old girlfriend. At just before 3:30 p.m. on Wednesday the 13th of November, authorities responded to an apartment complex in the 5400 block of Strive Street in Charlotte, North Carolina on reports of an assault with a deadly weapon. When officers arrived, they found a deceased woman lying on the pavement with multiple gunshot wounds. The victim was identified as 33-year-old Jamisha Wilkes. A witness told police that he heard 3 gunshots before seeing a young woman collapse and a man dressed in black flee the scene. During the investigation, authorities identified Jamisha's boyfriend, 32-year-old Deshaun Maddox, as a suspect. Authorities said that Jamisha was walking to her apartment from the parking lot when Deshaun accosted her and shot her to death. He then snatched her cell phone before leaving the scene. Later that day, detectives located Deshaun in Concord, North Carolina and arrested him. Authorities said that Deshaun confessed to a family member to killing Jamisha. The family member told police he texted earlier in the day and admitted to being unfaithful to Jamisha. He said he got Jamisha pregnant, then killed her, and ran over her phone with his vehicle to hide evidence. Deshaun was transferred to the Mecklenburg County Jail and charged with murder and robbery with a dangerous weapon. He remains held without bond. Jamisha is survived by a 7-year-old daughter. A man and woman are behind bars after a fast food employee was stabbed over a botched order. At around 2:25 p.m. on Sunday the 17th of November, authorities responded to Mob Pizza at 1541 Premium Outlets Boulevard in Norfolk, Virginia on reports of a stabbing. When officers arrived, they found a 24-year-old man suffering from multiple stab wounds. The man was transported to hospital for treatment and is expected to survive. Detectives took 45-year-old Catherine Harper and a 47-year-old husband Corey Harper into custody and charged them with malicious wounding. Corey was additionally charged with brandishing a firearm. Authorities said that Catherine got into an argument with the employee over what she thought was a botched order. Shortly afterwards, she called Corey and asked him to handle the situation. Once Corey arrived at the location, he stabbed the employee multiple times, including across his torso, exposing his intestines. At that point, the couple left the scene. On Monday the 18th of November, Catherine and Corey appeared in court where the judge denied them bond. They remain held at the Norfolk City Jail. They're due back in court on the 14th of January.